Okay. And Addison's all right.
Yeah, I think so.
Where's Addison? Good. All right. Really, that's all we have on the agenda,
Is
right?
Need me to print off our agenda?
the external, do we have minutes?
Yes, we do. I had sent them in text form, email, but I'll get them.
We can start because you can't do the minutes. So the agenda item was basically the required auditor communications from Brown Edwards. Brown Edwards concluded the financial audits for both RideFinders and GRTC. And on the phone, we have Danielle Nicolason from Brown Edwards, who's the director, as well as Christy Turner, who's the manager on the engagement.
Do I go now? They were earlier.
I got them here.
John is showing up.
I'm showing. I'm muted though.
So they can't hear you?
I got these, but I didn't get the.
It's on the calendar invite, but I'm gonna print it off right now. I'm gonna print it off. Don't.
No, I'm not connected by audio, except for here.
Say it one more time. To Dan, yeah, because Andreas is on it. I sent the same one.
So I see them on this. That's him on the meeting.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're working.
Can't approve minutes yet, so we'll wait for. So if we, are the auditors on the phone? All right, let's go ahead.
Okay. So we're moving to as part of this, Brown Edwards is the auditor that was retained by the Finance Committee to conduct the financial audits for both GRTC as well as RideFinders. Both audits have been concluded and reports have been issued. In front of the folks here in the room are copies of the required communications for both RideFinders and GRTC, as well as copies of the audited financial statements. On the call here, we have Danielle Nicolason and Christy Turner. Danielle's the director from Brown Edwards, and Christy Turner is the manager of the engagement. So at this time, I will turn it over to the two of them, and they can walk you through the SAS letters for both RideFinders and GRTC. Danielle, you're on mute.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here to present the letters. I'd actually planned to go over the financial statements at a high level and just kind of cover some of the contents, but if you'd prefer to skip over the financials and just go straight to the letters, we can do that. So is that what you would prefer right now?
I think so, unless, do you have any?
Nope, I'm good.
No.
Thanks.
We're good.
Okay.
Skip over.
Okay. Christy, do you want to start with the GRTC communication?
Yeah, because I cannot find the RideFinders one.
I'll do that one. That's fine.
Okay. I'll go ahead and share screens with y'all so you can see the report. If I can figure out how to.
If you'd like me to share it, I can share it too. I have it up.
That might be easier because we don't use Ring, so I am not familiar with this platform.
All right, so we're going to share the GRTC one first.
Okay. Okay. So this is the report that we prepared for GRTC. And if you want to scroll down to the next page. Okay. Keep scrolling, John. Okay, right there. So I'm not going to cover this report in entirety because it tends to be a very standardized report. So I'm just going to highlight the areas that we tailor specifically for each of our clients. But first off, we provided you with contact information for Leslie, Danielle, and myself, and Leslie's the partner on the engagement. So we've given you phone numbers and email addresses. If you guys have any questions after this presentation, feel free to reach out to us, or even during the year if questions come up. So if we want to go down to the next page, this actually starts off the report. And the part that I want to point out is that second paragraph that's under qualitative aspects of accounting practices. So essentially what this paragraph is communicating is whether or not there were any changes in your accounting policies. So thankfully for fiscal year 24, we did not have any new accounting standards that we had to adopt. And the policies in place this year would have been the same as those in place last year. Then the next paragraph below this highlights the accounting estimates that we think are going to be of more interest to users of the financials. And there's 4 of them that we bullet list here. So the first one is the pension liability and related deferred amount are basically going to be based on a valuation that's done. And then also in conjunction with the expected value and performance of the plan's assets. The next one is the useful life of your capital assets are based on, the company's historical experience combined with some industry standards. The third one that we want to highlight is the estimate of the right of use asset and related lease liability. And this is measured by looking at the terms of your lease, any assumptions being made about renewal options, whether or not they will be exercised, and then a discount rate that management deems to be appropriate to come up with the calculation of both of those balances. And then the very last one is the subscription. It's a SEBITA. It was the new GASB that was in effect last year. It's the same methodology with leases. Again, you're looking at the terms of the agreement, assumptions of any renewal options, and then a discount rate is being selected and applied in this calculation. But as part of the audit, we reviewed these estimates and found them to be reasonable and didn't find anything wrong with them. So then if we skip down to the next page, so that second paragraph at the top highlights the footnote disclosures that we think are of more interest to users of the financials. And so we lay them out in the bullet point and then reference to the actual note in the financial statements. And these include the retirement plan, your accrued uninsured accident claim, the union contract, and then any commitments and contingencies. And again, we reviewed those footnote disclosures as part of the audit and found them to be reasonable and neutral, consistent, and clear. Then the next section is difficulties encountered in performing the audit. Please report we didn't have any difficulties. And then the next section is the corrected, uncorrected misstatements. So we are required to communicate to y'all if there were any misstatements, whether they're trivial, but management has corrected all of those misstatements. And there's an appendix in the back that's all of the audit adjustments that we posted as part of the audit. In the next section, it's disagreements with management. Again, happy to report no disagreements with management. John and his team were super helpful, super responsive, and we couldn't get through this audit without them. Then
You did $20.
Did anybody have any questions? Sorry, I feel like I'm going too fast.
No,
Not at all.
You're fine.
Okay. And then the very next section is just the management representation. And this is in reference to the letter that we get from management. There's a signed copy in this as an appendix in the back of this report, but essentially it's the letter that management said, we've made you aware of everything. We've given you everything that you've asked for, and we have not withheld any information. And then I guess if we go down to the next page, the only other thing that I want to highlight there is just the other matters section. So this is talking about some of the sections of the financials, like management's discussion and analysis, some of the required supplementary information, and the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, basically saying that we did not audit those sections of the financials, but we are required to do some procedures to get comfortable with that information, such as, tying it to the basic financials, comparing that to responses that we got from management during the audit, or even tying it to underlying accounting records. But that's just to let y'all know that we did not audit those aspects of the financial statements. And then the very next section is essentially just a very high level. Well, sorry, next page, John. So this is a very high level explanation of all of the GASBs that are on the horizon that could potentially impact GRTC, in the next couple of years, next year and the next few years. And we just wanted to provide this to you guys just to kind of give you a chance to get exposed to it. We kind of joke with some of our board members that, you know, if you're suffering from insomnia one night, feel free to open this up and read through it, and it'll probably put you to sleep really fast. But this is just a way for us to kind of put some new GASB pronouncements that are on the horizon in front of y'all, so that it's not a surprise in the fiscal year that they do become applicable. And then subsequent to this report are just some of those appendixes, like the audit adjustment and the signed management rep letter. So that's it for this report. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll take that as the no.
Unmodified?
Unmodified.
Oh, sorry.
Here, I didn't see that in what you went over.
Yeah, he's asking the question, is that the opinion is unmodified. It's not stated in the report to the directors, but in the audit opinion, they're unmodified. And in the single audit, there's no findings of internal control deficiencies or of the such for GRTC or RideFinders.
Yeah, thank you, John. We have 3 audit reports that we issue in conjunction with the GRTC audit. One is a financial statement opinion. One is a report on internal controls and compliance for audits that are performed in accordance with government auditing standards. And then we call it the single audit report, but the federal program audit report. And all of those are the equivalent of a clean, unmodified opinion.
Okay,
There were
that's
no
all.
findings reported in our report.
I just wanted to see it or
Yeah,
hear it.
they're in the financial report. At the back, so the opinion's up front, and then the opinion on the internal controls towards the back end of the report. That's 3 or 4
On the financial.
on the financial page.
Okay. All right. I'm good. RideFinders.
So the RideFinders is gonna report is gonna be even shorter. There's quite a lot less involved in the audit of RideFinders than there is in GRTC. And I will note that RideFinders, the activity of RideFinders is actually included in the GRTC financial statement audit because of the financial relationship between the 2 entities. RideFinders is considered to be a blended component unit under government reporting standards of GRTC. So there's actually a note in the GRTC footnotes that breaks out the activity between RideFinders and GRTC. So technically the audit report of GRTC also encompasses that of RideFinders. But then we do also do a separate standalone for RideFinders. So as John is sharing his screen now, this also has the contact information for Leslie or myself. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This report starts very similarly to that of GRTC. We just start off with a very high level comment as to what we did. So we audited the financial statements and issued our report dated August 15th. And then we also make reference to another letter that we sent out in the planning stages of the audit that kind of goes over in detail our responsibilities, management's responsibilities, and what all is going to be included in the scope of our audit. This letter then goes on to talk about significant audit matters. And so we just point out that in note 2 to the RideFinders financial statements, that's where all of the significant accounting policies are disclosed. And there were no new accounting policies that were required to be implemented during FY24, and the application of existing policies did not change. We also noted no transactions entered into by RideFinders for which there was a lack of guidance or consensus. Following that, if there were any significant estimates embedded in the financial statements of RideFinders, or if we thought that there were any footnotes that were particularly sensitive, we would disclose those here. There were none. RideFinders is pretty straightforward. they have some receivables related to grants and whatnot, but we don't really consider those to be significant estimates in terms of collectability. You can, yeah, and no, there were no difficulties encountered in the performance of that audit. That's a nice, it's a really nice way that management has everything kind of compiled together, working with the RideFinders management. They're really easy to work with also. They're very cooperative throughout the process. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. If there were any uncorrected misstatements or past adjustments, we would disclose those here. There were none. I think there was just like one journal entry that was sort of there was a write-off of a related party balance between RideFinders and GRTC that had been kind of sitting there for a really long time. And so that was cleared up during the year, but that was really the only significant adjustment or transaction out of that audit. If we had encountered any disagreements with management, or if there were any consultations with other CPA firms, we would disclose those here. There were none. And in this other matters section, similar to GRTC, RideFinders has a supplementary schedule related to their grants. And so that is within the scope of our audit. And so we issue an in relation to an opinion on that schedule. And what that means is we audit the basic statements, and then we audit that schedule to make sure that it's fairly stated in relation to the financial statements as a whole. And then there's the similar restriction on use caveat here. And so RideFinders, because it's a nonprofit entity, it's not a governmental entity, these financial statements for RideFinders are reported under FASB, whereas the GRTC statements are reported under governmental accounting standards. FASB is the just regular financial accounting standards. And we do want to point out, similar that we do for GRTC, there is an upcoming pronouncement that may be impactful to RideFinders. It's related to leases between related entities. RideFinders has a lease with GRTC related to their agreement for the employees. And we don't expect that to have a significant impact on RideFinders, but we do want to bring it to your attention that it will be a new accounting pronouncement that will have to be considered next year. Are there any questions on this report? And RideFinders also, in their standalone audit, received a clean, unmodified opinion in both for its financial statements and for the internal control and compliance reports.
Grace, you good?
Yes, he's.
Excuse me?
Well, I think we're good.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, thank you all for allowing us to present these reports to you all today. I appreciate the time. And let us know if you have any questions. Our contact information is within.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We can go through the September financials. Okay, so going from the key highlights, this is 3 months ended September, so we're still just a few data points, but the similar trend. So revenues year to date are 942,000 unfavorable versus a budget of 22,403. The story here is it's unfavorable state funds, which is 2.32 million, and that's basically due to the timing of the VDOT reimbursements for routes 19, 7A and B, and the one extension. So these routes are going. It's us working with DRPT to get the grant submissions in with all the rates and so forth. So that's not an unfavorable variance that's going to retain. That will come back in. So no concerns there. It's offset by favorable federal funds, which is primarily due to the use of ARPA funds for certain operating expenses. And then also favorable local share match, which is due to the local share portions of grant funded projects. And of note here, this is offsetting, the local share budgetary assumption of the trip match contributions, which is cumulative through the 3 months of $260,000. And we have also a favorable positive variance, about $101,000 in directly generated. This is relative to the interest income relative to budget. As you're all aware of, we've got 150 basis point cut and another 25. So this is going to start to diminish over time. On the expense side, it's favorable to budget by $3.85 million on a budget of $22.145 million. Labor is favorable, $771,000. In the vehicle operations, about $324,000 of that is favorable. That's a good portion of that is due to the fringe benefits. We are under budgeted headcount for operators, but we are, HR is recruiting and we do have classes. As you know that we, in the 2025 budget was a 325 fixed route operators and 30 microtransit. So at the end of September, we have 314 full-time fixed route operators, 19 trainings, or 327 FTEs on fixed route against a budget of 336 FTEs. And then on the microtransit, we have 20 full-time microtransit operators against a budget of 30. So in total between the two, we got 347 FTEs versus budgeted of 366. So that's generating some of the favorable, and it's being offset by, overtime as well as, and it's offset by the favorable fringe. Vehicle operations, I'm sorry, on the maintenance and facility portion, about 110,000. They're about 5 headcount below budget, and primarily it's that's broken up between about 2/3 of that is on favorable wage due to the vacant headcounts, and the balance is on fringe. General administrative functions are also favorable, about $337,000, and that's also a result of key vacancies. Services is also favorable to budget by $1.827 million. I'm not concerned with that variance because that is related to our grant funded projects that are in the semblance of being performed. So what happens here, we don't see the expense until the grant submission is put in and it comes off the balance sheet and goes into the expense. So that's just a timing difference. On the materials and services consumed, it's about $1.4 million favorable. A large, increase in expenses at the end of the year that are sitting in inventory that as we progress through maintenance will come out and be expensed. It's about $430,000 is favorable fuel. We were too bullish on the fuel rate in the budget. Tires and tubes is favorable, about $34,000, and the balance about $773 is vehicle parts, which are primarily still in inventory and will be expensed when put into buses. Utilities is about on budget, slight favorable about $10,000. Casualty and liabilities cost is favorable about $105,000, and that's more or less being driven by the timing of the booking of the self-insured provision offset by the additional workers' compensation premium due to the audit. Purchase transportation, unfavorable about $265,000 on a budget, and that is due to demand. So I don't think that one is going to mitigate. It's been consistently up over the last 6-7 months. So we keep an eye on that and the scope of it. So all in all, at the end of September for 3 months, we're favorable, obviously, based upon the, on the virtue of the operating expenses being below budget, about $3.2 million. On the balance sheet here, you can see that our assets have increased slightly, about $4 million from year end. And that's primarily about $1.6 million increase in cash, slight offset by a decrease in accounts receivable. We're collecting, again, reimbursing the grants collected and converting it to cash. About $1.5 million $1,150,000 increase in property. That's due to basically the accumulation or the purchasing of rolling stock and the other capital grants. And you can also see that the slight increase in the restricted funds for CVTA, because it's at the end of September. It's the 3 more months of collections and then less what was pulled over in July. The liability side slightly down, slightly higher, payables and wages payable at the end of the year. No other issues really to report there. From a cash flow perspective, around at the end of October, about 3.2 million. Cash flow could be helped with operating contributions being paid within the first 30 days of the invoice. I'll just leave that comment there. We're still working to get one of the October 1st fundings collected. Hopefully that will be here tomorrow. The other one of them came in last week, and two are in, one still outstanding. So we're exploring. We've reached out to the local folks and working to make sure that we're there. CVTA. We filed the quarter ending September 30th, 2024 with CVTA. This is the activity for the second quarter through November 4th. Why through November 4th was because the October contribution didn't come in October, it came in November, so I wanted to include it. You can see September and October, 2.6, 2.8 million receipts. The interest income from September, which is credit to sweep, about 95,000, and you can see November 1st interest income to sweep down to 78. That's it, showing the impact of 50 basis points. Also slight unrealized loss due to the investment activity in the LGIP during the month, but that sure is rebounded in November so far. No funding in costs incurred for the regional public transportation or mobility plans, and you can see the second quarter operating contribution transfer over to GRTC operating. At the end, as of November 4th, about 46.7 million. You can see that the majority of it, all but $100,000 is invested, earning interest. And as you can see in this bottom chart, we basically are out of this $46.7 million balance, about $772,000 is set aside for future regional public transportation plan mobility studies, and about 12.7 million of the remaining 45.9 million is for Q3 and 4 funding for this year, and the balance of 33.205 million is in the bank for fiscal 26 budget. So, nothing, no concerns here with regards to the amount of collections and so forth. So I think we're in a good position there as well. So with that, I will turn the floor over to any questions.
Yeah, question. I don't know if you can hear us, Andreas, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
I can hear you. I'm following along.
Okay. Well, the only other thing we have is hopefully Mr. Nelson get here so we can. He'll come in, we'll approve the minutes, and do we have to approve something to go to the full board? We'll approve that, and that'll be it. You don't have any questions on any of the minutes or anything, do you?
I do not.
Andreas?
No, I do not.
All right, I don't know that there's anything, I mean, you can hang around if you want, but I don't know if there's anything else for you to do. We're just waiting for Tyrone to come up here so we can. Oh, he can vote, but we can't, he can't, okay, well, he can vote as soon as Tyrone gets here. All right, if you want to hang around to vote, then.
I will hang around to vote. That's why I came, right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And is there a statement that we need to approve to give to the board?
For the audit?
We can write something. May write a resolution. For the record, the Finance Committee received the report from the auditors and their acceptance of
So we'll approve the minutes and then we'll take a motion to recommend approval of
Acceptance,
the
yeah.
acceptance of the audit report.
And the full report will be a part of the board package so the council can see it.
Be a long meeting for.
I know. Just like he likes it.
It's a longer conversation another day, but these committees, et cetera, we should figure out how to loosen a little bit of, I mean, this didn't have to be the most formal thing in the world for us to say, yeah, we heard it. We think the board should support it. Like, we don't have to make it a whole, and our, I know our bylaws are restrictive anyway, so.
But the committees, I don't think.
Yeah. So it wasn't the issue of having enough members, it's the issue of having, I thought today's issue was that having representatives from each. So,
It is because we had to have a quorum and we need to have.
Three, I think it's for your subcommittees, it's three. So it doesn't have to be each city, it doesn't have to be three.
But we had to have three in person.
Correct. So if Andreas was here, we would have been fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's gonna be a quick meeting for your part. Can get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
You're right.
I'm sorry. So move, I
You
guess.
said second?
Second, yes, yes.
Who moved?
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
And thank you. Yep.
Chairman would make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend that the full board accept the audit reports from our external auditor at our next full board meeting. RideFinders and GRTC.
I'm not comfortable I am with that. I wasn't here.
You could abstain.
No, I'm just playing.
We can call him.
I get Andreas to second it since he can participate. All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
We can give you a recap.
Anybody else have any other business? Seeing no other business, committee meetings adjourned.
That's Andres on the phone.
Yeah, hold on,
Yes,
Andreas.
sir. Thank you. I'm here.
Hey, Andres. I just want to say, hey, that's all.
Oh, hey, guys.
All right, then, appreciate you sticking around for the vote.
Of
course.
Yep.
All right.
You guys.